Irish 101 Game Day is sponsored by the Notre Dame Football Heritage Project. Commemorate your first Notre Dame game with the Notre Dame Football Heritage Project certificate and help Notre Dame journalism students cover the Notre Dame Navy game in Dublin next season. Visit mysportsheritage.com. Irish 101 is also sponsored by Irish Illustrated. Become a subscriber today on the web at irishillustrated.com. Hello and welcome to beautiful Athens, Georgia, site of tonight's football game at Sanford Stadium between the 7th-ranked Fighting Irish of Notre Dame and the 3rd-ranked Georgia Bulldogs. Notre Dame comes into the game with a record of 2-0 after last weekend's win over New Mexico, while the Georgia Bulldogs are 3-0 after shutting out Arkansas State 55-0 last week. Kickoff time, 8 o'clock Eastern tonight. After today's Irish 101 program, go over to irishillustrated.com to get the instant analysis with Tim Priester and Tim O'Malley. And make sure you go to Irish Illustrated after the football game to get the post-game analysis with Tim and Tim. Coming up on Irish 101 Game Day, we'll check in with Chuck Dowdle of the Georgia Bulldogs Radio Network. He'll give us an update on Kirby Smart's football team. Kevin Sinclair of Irish Illustrated has this week's Irish Illustrated recruiting update. And the judge, Phil Houk of Fighting Irish Preview, has a look back at the series between Notre Dame and Georgia. It's the first ever trip to the University of Georgia for the Notre Dame football team, and it marks the first time in 43 years that a top 10 matchup will be held at Sanford Stadium between Georgia and a non-conference team. Notre Dame is 2-0 going into the game, and earlier this week, Brian Kelly talked about Georgia quarterback Jake Fromm, while the players talked about the upcoming game with the number 3 Bulldogs.
He's an outstanding player, can make all the throws, plays with great confidence. He has a great offensive line. He's got great weapons around him. Andre Swift at the running back position, Heron Cook. I mean, they have probably 5 running backs that can touch the field and do great things with the ball in their hands.
Yeah, it was just a great opportunity. You can tell the energy from the team, the coaches is great. And really, it's not getting too anxious about anything. It's more just how excited we are to have this opportunity to go down there and, play a great football team. And it's going to be awesome. Everyone's excited. Everyone had great energy, and that's the way it should be.
The opponent's really ourselves. We just got to focus on ourselves, focus on our mental, technical, and tactical approach to the game, and just our side of the games. Coach going to put us in a great position, and we just got to execute.
There's definitely an energy about it. We're trying to be flying around at practice, and we go full speed all the time with aggressive speed is what we're thinking about in the receiver room at least. But when you boil it down, field's the same length, same width, and it's still football, even though we're playing down there and college game day and all that.
Like I pretty much said, they're physical, they're well coached, they do things the right way. They're not going to beat themselves. You got to go out there and you got to play hard. You have to beat them. They're not going to get penalties and all that. They're going to come out there and play football the right way.
With a preview of the Georgia Bulldogs, here's Chuck Dowdle of the Georgia Bulldogs Radio Network.
Hey, Len, how are you, my friend? Yes, indeed. Let me tell you a little bit about the Dogs. Everybody looking forward to this game. Obviously, Saturday night, it will be the largest attended football game in the history of the state of Georgia on any level. And don't forget, this state has hosted 2 Super Bowls. So it should be a great game. A lot of the Dogs fans have had this one circled on their calendar since we left South Bend with a 1-point win 2 years ago. Let me also mention one other thing to you. The Georgia Bulldogs come in with a 3rd-ranked team in the nation, obviously a team that is built around what Kirby Smart has recruited over the last 4 years, which is a lot, and I do mean a lot, of 4- and 5-star players, particularly in the offensive line. That is the strength of the Dogs. It is what Kirby wants to do. As he has said many times, he wants to run the football. He wants to stop the run. But run the football is what the Dogs want to do, and that's what they'll be looking to do on Saturday night against Notre Dame. If the Irish can stop Georgia's running attack, they got a shot. If they can't, it's going to be a long night for the folks from South Bend who have ventured south here to Dooley Field at Sanford Stadium in Athens, Georgia.
This past year, the Fighting Irish were very successful in recruiting the state of Georgia. This week's Irish Illustrated Recruiting Report talks about the importance of recruiting in SEC territory. Here's Irish Illustrated recruiting analyst Kevin Sinclair.
Notre Dame heads down to Georgia this week, which is really a prime recruiting ground for Notre Dame. Last year, picking up Kyle Hamilton, KJ Wallace, JD Bertrand, the year prior, Tommy Tremble, Sibo Flemister, and others. So really, that's an area that they want to be popular in, and going in there and winning would be obviously winning in an area that Notre Dame finds its most talented prospects on the board. Really looking into the 2021 class, two really important prospects right out of the Atlanta area, starting with wide receiver Dion Colsey out of Athens Academy. We're talking about a guy who has right around the same sort of measurables Chase Claypool had coming out of high school. So he's 6'4" and right around the 200-pound range. Ran a 4.56 in the offseason, which was pretty incredible stuff. And Barrett Carter might be my favorite linebacker in the 2021 class, a kid out of North Gwinnett, where Notre Dame's recruited in the past heavily before, a top 150 linebacker at 6'1", 210, and a kid who actually also grew up in the Chicago area, so that's Barrett Carter. Those two there will both be keeping a close eye on Notre Dame for sure. Already interested in Notre Dame, now they're coming into their backyard, so Dion Colsey, he's ranked right around 51 overall in the country, and Barrett Carter. We're talking about a couple of very likely future All-American types. So look for Notre Dame to sort of turn some heads in that 2021 class when it comes to Georgia. As far as whether Notre Dame will be offering and pursuing more 2020 recruits in the Georgia area, we'll find out. But Notre Dame can start by making a good impression this Saturday, hopefully with a win. A lot of people not predicting that to happen, but of course Notre Dame having the firepower to do so. So stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for our coverage at Irish Illustrated.
Next up on Irish 101 Game Day, Phil Houk of Fighting Irish Preview takes a look at the history of the Notre Dame-Georgia football series.
Here is a look back at the short but colorful history of the Notre Dame-Georgia series.
Notre Dame, Georgia. Considering the history and traditions the two programs share, it's hard to imagine they have only squared off 2 times prior to this week's game on the field. Most fans recall 2017, in a game that saw then-freshman Jake Fromm make his collegiate debut. Georgia fans turned Notre Dame Stadium red that day, and Georgia hit a 30-yard field goal with 3:39 remaining to take a 1-point lead and then stop the Irish and Brandon Wimbush on 2 late possessions to seal a 20-19 extremely physical win. Georgia went on that season to the college football playoffs and fell in overtime to Alabama in the national title game. The only other time the two teams have met was in the Sugar Bowl on January 1st, 1981. Vince Dooley's Bulldogs were 11-0 and ranked number 1. Dan Devine's Irish were 9-1-1 and ranked number 7 in the country. A few weeks before, Devine had announced that he would be retiring at the end of the season, and that Jerry Faust had already been hired as his replacement. Notre Dame dominated Georgia statistically, outgaining them 328 yards to 127 in the game, but mistakes were costly for the Irish, and the great Herschel Walker, a freshman at the time, scored twice, and Georgia prevailed 17-10 to claim the only national championship in Georgia program history. And the Dan Devine era at Notre Dame came to a close.
This has been Irish 101 Game Day. Coming up at 8 o'clock Eastern Time tonight, it's the kickoff between the 7th-ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish and the 3rd-ranked Georgia Bulldogs. Remember to tune into IrishIllustrated.com after the football game to get the post-game analysis with Tim Priester and Tim O'Malley. Irish 101 Game Day is made possible by Irish Illustrated, also made possible by the Notre Dame Football Heritage Project. Commemorate your first Notre Dame football game and become part of the Notre Dame Football Heritage Project. You'll get a commemorative certificate to commemorate your first Notre Dame football game, but you'll also be helping the Ara Parseghian Medical Fund, as well as helping Notre Dame journalism students attend the football game in Dublin next year to cover the game between the Fighting Irish and the Mids of the Naval Academy. We're going to leave you with some sights, sounds, and even some smells of the University of Georgia. Sit back and relax and enjoy tonight's game. For everybody at Irish 101, I'm Len Clark saying, Go Irish!